We're on page 140. Bottom to top, right to left. For each problem below, sketch and label a 4-part area model. Then list the partial products in order from bottom right corner to top left corner and add them to get the total. So on this page, this is just like what we did on the previous page. We just have to sketch our own area models. So what I did in A and B, and I'll show you, is I just went ahead and sketched a rectangular array and then labeled the partial products. So if you see that 24 is 20 plus 4, remember expanded form, and 35 is 30 plus 5. So now my partial products is ready to go. I'm going to start here at the bottom. Remember, A, B, C, D. And then I'm going to write the partial products right here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pause this video and I'm going to work on this problem, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like at the end. So if you want to, go ahead and try to do this problem on your own. Pause the video and then do the problem on your own, and then play the video to check your work. So I have completed A, and you can check your work. So what I came up with was 5 times 4 is 20. And then I said 5 times 20 is 100. And then for this, the yellow box for C, it was 4 times 30, 120. And then finally, the last box is 20 times 30, which is 600. And then I went ahead and added up the partial products. I listed them A, B, C, D, added them up to become 840. Okay, let's go on to B. So remember, in B, go ahead and try and solve it on your own. Pause the video, solve B on your own, and when you are all done, play the video to double check your work. Okay, so now you're probably ready to check your work. So we did 26 times 43. So I first started with 3 times 6, which is 18. And then I went over to B, 20 times 3. So here's the 3. 3 times 20, 60. And then C is 6 times 40. 6 times 40 is 200. And finally, the 20 times 40, which is 800. And then I added the partial products together. I listed out the problems, and I came up with 1,118. Now we're on question 2. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Question 2 is a little bit of a challenge. It's really going to give your brain a little workout. So if you study the example, you may be able to figure out the rest of the problems. If you study the example and you still are confused, you may go ahead and continue to follow along with this video and follow along in your math workbook. So I'm going to kind of give you the directions for this. You're going to practice listing and adding the partial products in the same order as you did above without the labeled sketch. So we're going to go ahead and do this part without using the area model. So this is going to give your brain a little bit of a workout, but just do your best to follow along. So what I'm going to do it a different way. So I'm going to start with 29 times 29. So I know that the first partial product is the ones. It's going to be the 9 times 9. And you can see that in this example. The first partial product is 8 times 3. So I'm going to first list 9 times 9. 9 times 9 is 81. Okay, now I know the very last partial product is going to be 20 times 20, because you can see that this is 29, 29. Right here in the example, it's 38 and 43. So the last partial product will be 40 times 30. The last partial product will be 20 times 20. I'm going to write that at the bottom. So I have the ones and I have the very last one. Now I just need the two partial products in between. All right, so what I'm going to start with is I'm going to kind of think about the standard algorithm. So I know when we use the standard algorithm, after we go 9 times 9 is 81, we also go 9 times 2. But remember, this isn't 2, this is actually 20. So I know we think about that as a 2, but this would be 9 times 20. So I'm going to write 9 times 20. Oops, I'm running out of room. 9 times 20 is 180. So you can see that in the example here. So you can see the 3 times 30, 3 times 30. Not 3 times 3, but 3 times 30. So you can see the 3 times 8 is 24, 3 times 30 is 90. Okay, now we're going to move on to the next one, which is going to be, this is a little bit of a tricky one. After we work on the 9, we have the 2 here. So this is a little bit of a tricky one. This is actually going to be not 2, but this will be 20. This will be 20 times 9. So we did 9 times 20. This will be 2 times 9. 20 times 9. So this will be 180. Okay, now I'm going to add the partial products together. Now I came with my total to be 841. Okay, let's go on to 65 times 54. Again, if you're still confused with how to list partial products without the sketch, you can go ahead and just follow along with us. Now we're on the next problem, 65 times 54. So I thought it might be easier if you saw the 6 in 65 as 60 and think about the 5 in 54 as 50. Even though when we use the standard algorithm, we always call it a 5 or a 6, but think about it as 60 and 50. Okay, let's go ahead and do the first part. So I know that when I use the standard algorithm, I'm first going to multiply 5 times 4. So I'm going to list that partial product, 5 times 4, which is 20. Now the very last partial product I know is going to be the 50 times 60. So I'm going to list that out down below. So 5 times 6 is 30. Add the 2 zeros. This will be 3,000. Okay, now I'm looking for 2 more partial products. This is the tricky part, the more challenging part. So I know that when I multiply the standard algorithm, I first multiply the ones. 5 times 4, which is 20. Now the next step is I start with the tens. 4 times 6. But remember, this is not a 6. This is actually 60. I know that when we do the standard algorithm, we just call it a 6, but it actually is 4 times 60. So that'll be the next partial product that I write. 4 times 60. I know that 4 times 6 is 24. And I'm going to put the 0 at the end. Now I'm going to go on to the last part of this algorithm is this 5 here. Remember, this is not a 5. This is actually 50. So think about this as 50 times 5. I'll say that one more time. This 5 right here is actually a 50. So we're going to call this 50 times 5. So I know that 5 times 5 is 25, and I'm going to put the 0 at the very end. Okay, now my last step is to add the partial products together. So go ahead and do that with a calculator, and then check your work by multiplying 65 times 54 to see if your answers are precise. So I went ahead and checked my answers. I added the partial products together. You can use a calculator to do this. 3,000 plus 250 plus 240 plus 20 is 3,510. All right, let's go on to the next problem. Now we are on the last problem, which is 48 times 37. So I'm going to start with listing the partial products. I'm going to start with the 8 times 7. So remember, when we're using the standard algorithm, we start with the ones. 8 times 7. If it makes it easier for you, I'm going to go ahead and jump down to the very last partial product, which is going to be the 40 times 30. Remember, that would be like the biggest part of the area model or the box method. That would be the biggest part of the box. It would be 40 times 30. So 4 times 3 is 12 plus 2 extra zeros. Okay, now I'm going to get to this kind of tricky part right here. So I know when I use the standard algorithm, I first multiply 8 times 7. That's where we get the 56. Then the next step is I still have to go 7 times 4. But remember, this is not a 4. This is actually 40. So this would be 8 times 7 is 56. And then we're going to go 7 times 40. Which will be 7 times 4 is 28 with a 0 at the end. Okay, so now I'm going to go on to the last part, which is that 3. So the 3 here, remember, I want you to think about this as I would go 3 times 8 when I do the standard algorithm. But remember, this is not a 3. This is actually 30. So this would be 30 times 8. Three times 8 is 24 plus the extra 0. Okay, now I'm going to add my partial products together to get my total.